If you love Name Explain, then please consider leaving a super thanks in the comments of this video. It's a great way to make a one-time donation to the channel and help support Name Explain.
The United Kingdom has a river naming problem. That problem being that there aren't enough names to go around for the amount of rivers that the UK has. One source claims that the UK has almost 1,500 different river systems, yet there are far from 1,500 different names for all of these rivers. Popular UK rivers that you might have heard of include the likes of the Avon, the Ouse, the Derwent, and the Don. These names are used for multiple rivers across the country, some pretty far spread from one another. This means that different rivers end up having the exact same name. In example, Avon is the name for rivers in Devon, Warwickshire, Hampshire, and most noticeably in Bristol. There's a river called the Ouse in Yorkshire and Sussex, which are in opposite ends of the country. The name Don for a river can be found in Lancashire, Tyne and Wear, Yorkshire, and even Aberdeenshire in Scotland. And the name of Derwent is used for rivers in Derbyshire, across County Durham and Northumberland, Cumbria, and once again in Yorkshire. There's even rivers in the Czech Republic and Poland with names similar to that of the Derwent, which shows us just how reoccurring these names can be on a global stage. More on that later. These examples of multiple rivers having the same name is a problem for a couple of reasons. First off, they can make things pretty darn confusing. If things have the same name, it can create confusion in regards to what place people are actually talking about. This is applicable to countries, towns, and of course, rivers. In example, if your friend told you they were planning a fishing trip down the River Avon, you might end up at the wrong River Avon or something. The second problem with these repetitive names is the fact that they could affect local identity. Many people feel pride in the place they come from, and pride in those names. To find out somewhere else has a river with the same name as where you live could annoy people. So, why exactly do many of the UK's rivers share their name with other rivers found in the country? To really understand this one, we need to understand the naming conventions and history of naming rivers. Rivers are deeply important things to human civilization. Most major settlements found across our globe are located either next to a river or by the sea. This philosophy goes as far back as to the very beginning of humans living in a civilized society. Mesopotamia is considered by many to be where humans stopped being hunter-gatherers and lived in societies somewhat like we do today. This area was within a location known as the Fertile Crescent, with this crescent being so fertile because it was nestled between the two rivers of the Tigris and Euphrates. Conversely, ancient Egypt thrived for so long thanks to the Nile, which supported so much life on its banks. Even more modern major settlements like London and Rome were founded on the banks of a river. Having a settlement next to a river or sea is important for a couple of reasons. First, water is one of the key elements for sustaining life, whether that be water for us to drink or water to grow crops which can then feed us and livestock. Being closer to water also makes transporting cargo an awful lot easier. We had boats sailing across water way before things like trains, planes, and cars. It's even believed that we were using boats before we were even riding horses. And while being next to the sea or a river are both good options, it seems that rivers tend to be preferred. This is because rivers have more predictable flows compared to the sea, and the fresh water of a river is much more usable to humans than the salt water of the sea. Basically, rivers are super important, and many people of the ancient past set up shop next to a river that could sustain their lives. This means that rivers have a habit of having really old names. They were often the first things to be named by humans, and in turn many things were then named after them. There's a huge amount of countries, towns, and tribes of people that are believed to have been named after the river they resided next to. If you've watched enough Name Explain, you've probably heard me say something along the lines of, they are named after the river X, Y, or Z. Something I also end up saying a lot is, so if it's named after the river, then how did the river get its name? So, how did these rivers get their names? Well, understanding the origin of these repetitive river names kind of helps us understand why they are used for multiple rivers across the country and world. River names tend to live in a bit of an odd place. While their names are instrumental in naming other things like towns and people, the actual meaning of many river names tends to be a bit primitive, shall we say. Because they were named by much less advanced humans than us and were often named before anything else, the people naming these rivers tended to not really push the boat out when it came to deriving names for them. This is applicable to many rivers even outside of the UK. For example, the name of the Nile in the ancient Egyptian language just meant river, as it was the only river that concerned them. Many rivers today have tautological names, meaning their names consist of the same word twice but in different languages. Take the Hatchie River in the USA. Hatchie is simply the Muscogee word for river. So Hatchie River simply means river. Rivers can often have pretty dry names, which is ironic considering how wet rivers are. These more dry and primitive names are also applicable to those reoccurring UK river names too. Take the name Avon. Avon simply comes from the Welsh word for river, Afon. This is why many of the river Avons in the UK are found near Wales, like Bristol's Avon. So yeah, the name simply means river too. If we look into the name Ouse, which is used for many rivers too, we will find that it simply comes from the old Celtic word Usa, and this simply means water. Once again, it makes a lot of sense for a river to be named after water, as they are literally just water. Likewise, the name Don for a river is thought to come from Celtic/Gaelic roots too, meaning water, possibly even linked to a Celtic goddess of water. Derwent as a river name is slightly more interesting. I've read that it either means river by the forest of oak trees, or that it means clear water. Either way, both of these are pretty understandable in regards to how the name came about. These etymologies can be described with multiple words: bland, unoriginal, prehistoric, or even vague. Vague is the word I'm going to go with, however, because it's due to their vagueness which allowed them to be used as the names for so many different rivers. As mentioned, Avon simply means river, so it makes sense why many different ancient peoples would have used it as the name or term to describe the river near to where they lived. Likewise, Ouse just means water, so people would use it to refer to the water near their home. And many settlements were created by rivers near forests, so Derwent is applicable to many rivers too. This explains to us why so many rivers in the UK have the same name. Another reason this was able to happen is because back in the UK's ancient past, people were not as well connected as we are today. Most people would have lived their entire lives in the small area they called home and not really venture out of it. People would have lived their lives with little understanding of the wider world. In example, people who lived by the River Don in Lancashire probably didn't know there was another River Don in Yorkshire. They just would have lived their life. These aren't the only names to be used by multiple rivers in the UK and across the world, however. In example, there is a River Tyne in Newcastle in England, as well as a River Tyne in Scotland. Conversely, the longest river in Great Britain, the Severn, might be etymologically linked with the River Severn in Yorkshire. One of the strangest ones is the River Lagan in Northern Ireland. There is also a river in Sweden with the exact same name. No idea how that one happened. It's known that Norsemen/Vikings settled in Ireland, so maybe they brought the name with them. Though it's also worth noting that not every river name is duplicated in the UK. For example, there is only one River Trent and one River Thames, at least in the UK anyway. Another issue with the UK's river names is the fact that they have been exported across the globe. This is because of the whole British Empire thing, and the fact they love naming other parts of the world they claimed after places in Blighty. This means that these repetitive river names can be found in places like the USA, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand too. For example, a Thames River can be found in Ontario, Canada, and a Trent River can also be found in Ontario, as well as ones found in New Zealand and the USA. And Australia has no less than 5 different rivers all called the Avon too. Seriously, these names are everywhere. So, what exactly can we do about all these repetitive river names? Well, we could just ignore it and carry on with our lives. Not everyone is as obsessed with names as I am and probably aren't losing sleep over this fact. But I guess if we really wanted every river to have a unique name, we could just create or find new names for many of these rivers. That creates a whole issue too though, like who gets to keep the name and who has to change them. Many people are attached to these names, so probably wouldn't want to see them go, while somewhere else gets to keep on using that name for their river. Maybe some of the rivers not in the UK could receive names of more indigenous roots, like renaming New Zealand's Avons and Trents with names of Maori origins. This is just my own musings on the matter, by the way. No one is actually trying to change these names as far as I'm aware. I'm just spitballing. For now though, we'll probably just have to put up with these repetitive river names. This video topic was suggested by CBD at Patreon over on my Patreon. Every Wednesday I put up a video request post over on my Patreon for my awesome patrons to leave video ideas on. I then pick one of those ideas to be turned into a video the following Wednesday. So if you have a great idea for a Name Explain video and wish to enjoy Name Explain videos ad-free as well as get exclusive content and your name at the end of these videos, then why not support the channel on Patreon? It takes just $1 a month to help the channel in a huge way and gets you all of these amazing benefits. Visit patreon.com/nameexplain or click the link down below.
Name Explain depends on viewers like yourself supporting the channel financially on Patreon, so a huge thank you to everyone who does. Donating just $1 a month helps the channel amazingly and gets you bonuses including ad-free videos, exclusive content, the power to request ideas to be made into actual Name Explain videos, and your name at the end of the video with all these awesome people. Visit patreon.com/nameexplain or click the link down below to find out how you too can support the channel. Thank you. Thanks for reaching the end of the video. Why not watch another and subscribe to keep up to date on all things Name Explain. You can find myself on Instagram where I'm NameExplainYT and join the Facebook group Friends of Name Explain to talk with myself and other name nerds. All that will be linked down below. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and once again, thank you all so much.